Hello and welcome to today's video. In today's video we're going to be looking at how to play successful and pleasant block chords in the left hand like this. We'll look at how to change accurately and make sure they don't overwhelm the delicate melody. The piece we're going to do this with, I have written, is called Lazy Days. So let's get stuck straight in and see how to play those left-hand chords. Now, if, like me, you're sweltering in the heat, you'll need this relaxing piece to help you. And it's that relaxing playing that can often help with our left hand. As we've mentioned before, any tension tends to translate itself through into the music and the movements, making everything sound and feel much different to how you want it to be. So as we look through this new piece, have a listen to it first and see how it looks when I play, nice and relaxed, and that gentle sound will come across. Here is Lazy Days. I hope you enjoyed Lazy Days. So, as you can hear, that smooth and gentle left hand has a few key ingredients beyond just being relaxed. For instance, we need to be able to move from here on this G major chord to here on this C major chord. Now this is a simpler action. What I'm going to do is show you the positions. Position 1 is G, B and D. Position 2 is G, C and E. Now this means that they both have a G in the little finger position, meaning it's like an anchor. I can keep that finger there and swap between the positions, as you can see. 1 and 3, 1 and 2. My thumb moves up and I swap from 3 to 2. Position 1, looking at my hand, position 2. I'm thinking, I'm looking, I'm making sure I know what that looks like, visualizing it carefully, and then snapping from one position to the other, not bouncing back and forth. One position, imagine the other one, look at the keys, snap straight across. Now this means that as I'm not playing, I can really focus on the visuals. Then I can introduce the playing. One long G chord, thinking about the new position, looking at the notes, snap, press, and pause. It's important to take the time between your repetitions to make sure you reset and have a fresh, relaxed look at it another time. Better to do 5 or 6 quality versions of this than lots and lots of frantic playing back and forth. If your mind gets a little bit too busy, a bit too chaotic, then we take less in. So relaxing and snapping between the positions gently really will help you out. So that's a chord change where we have a position 1 and a position 2 with a little finger anchored down. But what happens at the end of line 1 is slightly different. We have position 1 here, back on our C chord, G, C and E, but I've got to move up one note in each of those cases to A, D, and then I've also got to get to F sharp for this D chord. So sorry about that, but it's a good thing for us to have a look at together. We've got here a G, C and E, and then I'm looking at position 2. And again, although it's more difficult, I'm going to take a little step in towards the back of the keys because that's where my thumb needs to go, the shortest of the fingers, and that's going to help me. Position 1, relaxed, looking at the new notes, moving in up there. Now I can't snap between those positions straight away because I'm quite likely just to miss them or not be that accurate. So it's a training exercise. You're going here, and then everybody else hopefully slots in. Second finger in between the two black keys, little fingers kind of just hooked down here between these two. Now, if you have fingers which do not fit between the keys, what you can do with these chords instead is just a little twist of the wrist. Try and keep your fingers away from those areas. It is a little bit harder to go from one to the other, but it can be done. And we all adapt to the way we need to play things. Ideally, keeping parallel with the keys is a bit easier, but as needed, this position also works. So that's how I would move between the two main types of chords. Now, how do we actually play them then? Well, as with most music, we want to have a small emphasis on the first beat. In 4/4, we want a smaller emphasis on the third beat, and we want much less sound on beats 2 and 4. So in other words, loudest chord at the beginning, then a very weak chord, then a slightly stronger, and a weaker. And that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that structures the playing. So when I play this, strong, weak, a little stronger, weak. If I exaggerate it, you can hear. So what difference does it make? Well, have a listen if I give them all equal value pressures. Now I am playing them all quite loudly there, so it kind of swamps over the right hand. Imagine if I went very quiet. It's almost the other way. It's a bit less bad, but it still feels a bit lacking. It hasn't got the push, it hasn't got the warmth when you give the correct accentation to a piece like this. So in other words, we want to make sure we grade gradually a little better each time. And I mentioned in the previous video about engineering your piece throughout. You're not going to get everyone spot on. I think that's virtually impossible, but what we are trying to do is get them as good as we can and improve whilst we play. And calibrating to your instrument in your room is important. A concert pianist has to practice on a stage with the instrument they'll be playing to get used to how it sounds and how it feels. Each time is slightly different. So we're doing a little bit less work than that because you're probably not traveling around playing on different pianos so much. But I think this is still a valid exercise of listening carefully and calibrating to the way that the sound is. And if you are traveling around listening to different pianos and playing on different pianos, welcome to the channel. It's nice to have some concert pianists along for the ride. So, next tip then. How do we make our phrasing sound good? Well, there's fairly easy phrasing in this. I've even put in the phrase marks. You're welcome. So phrase 1. Phrase 2. Then phrase 3 is a little different. Up into E minor. And then we have this very passionate roll down and up. So we want to really do the phrasing there more than anywhere else. We've got such a platform to hold on to that top note just a little bit and then push and then relax. So I hope you have fun playing that. And in case you're wondering, yes, you will have to change the speed of your left-hand chords to match the right hand. This is known as cantabile playing, a singing style, letting the melody dominate the rhythmic textures and the different positions that our playing will have when we go through the phrasing. Now, an overlapping phrase next. You'll notice that normally there's a gap between phrases where the music breathes. But what if the phrases merge together? The end of one is also the beginning of another. Well, that's what we have here between bars 7 and 8. End and beginning. That makes a very exciting feel for the listener. They weren't expecting you to carry straight on into these lovely repeating notes. Now you've got a choice here. I'm going to give you a choice. We can practice the traditional methods. Now traditions are often not the best things to follow, but there's normally a little bit of sense somewhere, maybe hidden in the mists of history, and often pianists will swap fingers on repeated notes. And people often say, is this necessary? Do I need to practice changing all my fingers? Well, if you were playing 500 Bs in a row, maybe one of your fingers would get worn out after a while and it would get difficult. People often say, is it to stop my fingers getting worn out? Well, a little bit. But it's often to help with the rhythm of the piece as much as anything, and I kind of like a little finger swap there. 2, 3, 2, 3. It helps me keep in the rhythm of the piece. I think I can produce the same sound with one finger. I think that's true, but it just sort of helps. So if you do feel like swapping fingers a little bit there, why not? Try it out, see how you feel. And if you have any more convincing reasons for swapping fingers, do let me know in the comments. I'll be very interested to read them, as I'm sure there are some other things that people often swap fingers for. So on to the end then. You've got across the tied note, don't miss that. Switching to the G chord. Now we're into the D7 chord, and a rit for slow down in Italian, and a pause mark for mater, the little eyebrow with the dot under it, which tells us how to play at the end of the piece. Hold the note on until an effective length has been reached. I did finish this piece in a way that felt a little premature, just to keep it onto 2 lines. So if you're interested in recomposing the end of this piece and extending it to 4 or more lines, please let me know how you get on. It'd be a wonderful project. Well, I do hope you've survived lazy days without getting too hot under the collar, and I'm now going to go off back to my paddling pool to cool down a little bit. I wish you well, enjoy the journey, and I'll see you in the next video.